Yo, 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 what is up, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. There were some really big performances, which there kind of has been as of recently, which is honestly what I want to focus on in this video, is how crazy the NBA has been going. But, of course, I do want to start off with talking about the man of the night, the now highest scorer in a game this season. Karl-Anthony Towns had 60 points tonight, 32 of those in the third quarter. He was absolutely insane. He had 56 by the end of the third, and if this wasn't a blowout and Cat wasn't in foul trouble, he could have had 70 pretty easily tonight. He was scoring at will, three-pointers, back to the basket, free throw line, whatever. The Spurs couldn't stop him, and this was just an incredible performance by a guy who has been through a lot over these past few years, so to see him go out there, set the franchise scoring record and the record for scoring on this season, it was pretty impressive for a guy who I feel like for a long time, I've covered the Timberwolves a lot recently, and I've said in the last video that I talked about them, Cat's a guy that I always feel like has been kind of underrated by the general public, and so shout out to Cat. He really deserves this moment. But Cat wasn't the only guy who went off tonight. We had Steph Curry, who dropped 47 for the Golden State Warriors in a win in Draymond Green's return game. He was phenomenal. It was actually his birthday. He probably could have went for 50, but Steve Kerr took him out, which Warriors fans, of course, were not happy about, but it goes on. It happens. You can't risk a guy getting injured. It was just a great showing from Steph, and it really did look so much more natural, the offense, when Draymond Green is out there, helping Steph operate on those dribble handoffs, setting screens. It just seemed like it was a much more fluid offense from the second Draymond stepped onto the court. Him, Clay, Steph haven't played together since, I think it's been 1,000 days or so now, which is kind of ridiculous because I've always seen them as this trio that has kind of carried Golden State Warriors basketball alongside Kevin Durant, of course, for the last 4 or 5 years. And so to know that they haven't been out there in 1,000 days together is kind of crazy. So it was cool to see them out there again. Shout to Steph, had a great game. But once again, not the only guy who went off, because Trae Young had 46 points in a win over the Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers kind of had the Hawks on the ropes for a little bit, and it was looking like it was probably going to be the low point of the Hawks season, losing to a Trail Blazers team that is super depleted. But the Hawks did end up coming out on top in large part due to the play of Trae Young, who was incredible. But if you notice, that's 3 guys who scored 45 or more points tonight, which, by the way, is the only time in NBA history that it's happened. We've never seen 3 guys score 45 or more points on the same night, or in 3 different games at least. So that's insane. That is an incredible stat. You really think that would happen at some point, but it kind of speaks to what we're seeing in the NBA right now. I saw a tweet from @JakeAndHoops. Shout out to him for this tweet. But he made a list and kind of compiled all the crazy scoring performances we've seen just over the last 10 days. LeBron James had 56 against Golden State, 50 versus Washington. Steph Curry had 47 versus Washington. Josh Hart also, third guy, had 44 against Washington. So Washington's got some problems to figure out. 53 by Jason Tatum against Brooklyn. KD had 53 against the Knicks. 46, like I mentioned, for Trae Young against Portland. 46 for Jokic against the Pelicans. 60 by Towns against the Spurs. 50 by Kyrie against Charlotte. And that's not even all of them. Those are just probably the ones that could fit in the tweet. It's insane what we're seeing right now. Post All-Star break, you've got so many guys. I feel like there's 40, 50-point performances every day. De'Aaron Fox, I know, has had a couple 40-point games as well. I'm sure Ja has had one in there somewhere. I know GIlgeous-Alexander of the Thunder. Of course, I'm going to talk about Shea here for a little bit. He's dropping over 30 a game since coming back from the All-Star break. The scoring has absolutely exploded. I don't know if the NBA went back. It's the exact opposite of what we saw at the beginning of the season when nobody could score efficiently because the Wilson ball was new and the rules changed. The rules seem to have kind of been a little more lenient as of recently. There were a couple times tonight where, watching just a couple of the different games, I did see the guys do kind of that pump fake and then launch into the defender. It's still not as prevalent because they do call that as an offensive foul a lot of the time, but it was happening a little bit. So it seems like maybe the rules have become a little more lenient, but I don't know, maybe just they figured out the Wilson ball or something like that. I can't explain this. I'm not going to come in here and be I have some big revelation for why this is happening, because I don't. I don't know if they switched back to the Spalding ball. The rules just kind of chilled out. The All-Star break gave guys fresh legs. I don't know what's going on, but it's super fun. I'm really enjoying NBA basketball right now. I know a lot of people are oh, no one plays defense. This scoring's unbelievable. It's hard to watch, which I don't really understand because I love to see guys go crazy crazy, put up these historic scoring performances. There's just been, we right now are in the best age of offensive basketball we've ever seen. Offenses have never been this good, and some people think it's just because the defenses are worse. That's not true. Defenses are still really good. The offensive players are just more skilled and talented than they've ever been. It kind of is just the natural progression of things. As athletes get better, like treatment, better like dieting and stuff like that, better skills coaches, like they figure out new things. It's just kind of the nature of things. Like 20 years from now, the players that play then are going to be like way better than the guys that are playing right now. It's kind of just the way things work. We right now are in the best era of NBA offense we've ever seen. And it's super fun to watch. We've got guys that are setting scoring records left and right, unprecedented things, both like scoring wise as well as playmaking. It's incredible to watch. And funnily enough, like there are all these guys averaging a ton of points, and then LeBron James is sitting at the top of the scoring list. It's some things change, some things don't change. LeBron kind of seems to just be hanging around. It's been super fun to watch though. So I just kind of wanted to talk about this for a little bit because it's kind of crazy. I feel like every time, like, because I don't have time to watch all of the games, especially this past week. I was on spring break, so I was doing a lot of things with my family. And if you don't know, I'm a college student, so I have a lot of things going on. So I watch as much as I can for these videos, but I can't watch all of the games. So I'll just kind of check box scores, like watch highlights and stuff like that, to kind of catch up on the games that I wasn't able to watch. And like, I feel like every box score I check, someone scored 30, someone scored 35, someone had 45, 40. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. And it's not even just like the stars. As I mentioned, Josh Hart had 44 points. And don't get me wrong, I love Josh Hart. When Josh Hart first got to the Blazers, I bet on him like 5 straight times to hit his over on points because they kept putting it too low and he kept kind of crushing it. I love Josh Hart. Shout out Josh Hart. But Josh Hart scoring 44 points is kind of ridiculous. Like, he's never been a scorer. That is clearly his career high in points. And it's not even just like the scoring, it's the efficiency that some of these guys are doing it too. Kyrie had 50 in the most efficient 50 ball of all time. Cat was crazy efficient tonight, scoring his 60. Steph Curry went off. Tatum had an efficient 53. Like, guys are doing it on crazy efficiency. They're not just chucking up 50 shots and like, oh, they happen to score 50 because they made 25 of them. They're doing it with crazy efficiency. So I don't know what's gotten into the NBA. I'm enjoying it. I'm not saying it should stop. Hopefully this isn't some weird like cone curse thing where I create this environment where all of a sudden people stop scoring this much, because I do want to see it continue. It's super fun. I just kind of wanted to highlight it. I'm sure a lot of you have been noticing this as well. So let me know if maybe you have any ideas for why this is happening. Were there any like great scoring performances as well that I forgot to mention? There was like also Malik Beasley against the Thunder, broke the franchise record for threes. He had 11 threes. 4 days after Bojan Bogdanovic broke the Jazz record for threes in a game, also against the Thunder. So I firsthand have kind of been witnessing this offensive explosion by opposing teams. You know, someone want to explain it to me, let me know what's going on. I'd appreciate it. But as I mentioned, shout to Cat, shout to Steph, shout to Trae Young, 3 guys who absolutely went off tonight. Beyond those games, we had a great game between the Sixers and the Nuggets. Of course, Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic facing off, 2 of the MVP frontrunners, alongside probably Giannis Antetokounmpo, with those 3 being the top 3 guys. And so this was a big matchup. This is one that everyone was anticipating. Of course, Jokic and Embiid fans really have this big rivalry. I would know. I'm on Twitter too much. And the Nuggets do come out on top 114 to 110. I guess Joel Embiid outplayed Nikola Jokic. He had 34, 9, and 4. Jokic had 22, 13, and 8. So if you're just looking at an individual standpoint, Joel Embiid, I guess, did outplay him. But Jokic in his own right was incredible. It was a super fun battle to watch. It's cool because, like, as much as like Nuggets fans and Sixers fans don't really like each other from what I've seen, due to the like just the fact that they have 2 of the best centers in the league and the whole debate over who's better, these 2 guys really like each other. Every interview they've done, like after this game, they both talked super highly of each other. Jokic was talking about how Embiid has a case for best in the world and how he loves sharing the court with the best players in the world, like Joel Embiid. Embiid multiple times in recent interviews leading up to this game has called Jokic an MVP candidate. Of course, said that he's one of the best players in the world, saying that he just does everything. It's cool to see that there are these 2 guys who, despite this like positional rivalry, still respect each other a lot, go at each other. Like, Joel Embiid came out immediately looking to make a statement. He had like 10 points in the first few minutes. The Nuggets went down, I think, 18 in this one on Philly's home court, managed to come back and get the win. in big part, like I mentioned, due to Nikola Jokic, but also Bones Highland. He was incredible. He had 21, 4, and 2. I can't tell you how many big threes he made because I felt like I was watching the same thing on repeat. Every time he caught the ball, he was like, all right, I'm gonna shoot this, and was just drilling threes, not just from like typical like catch and shoot shots. He was off the dribble. He was like 5-6 feet behind the line on some of the ones he was making. Somehow he got open at the end of the game and hit a huge three that kind of sealed it. It was super impressive what he was doing out there, being a young player, making things happen in this big moment. A huge matchup, like very big playoff atmosphere vibes at this game. Big moment for him, so shout out to him. James Harden had 24, 9, and 11, so he was pretty solid. Tobias Harris started off pretty hot, but really slowed down. George Niang tried to bank in a three from the corner at the end of the game, so I guess I respect him for going fundamentals, but, probably not what you want to see. 19 from Tyrese Maxey. It was just a really fun game. Matisse Thybulle had 6 steals, I believe, which is his career high. There were so many plays where Matisse Thybulle just, like, baits the opposing ball handler into making a mistake, where he sneaks up on them. He's just, like I don't know how he does it, because he's a tall dude. He's like 6'4", 6'5". I think he's 6'5". So you would imagine it would be hard for him to sneak up on people, but there were multiple times this game where Jokic was just dribbling and he kind of just like snuck up, poked the ball away, and ran down to the other side for a dunk or kicked it off to someone else. He's just an incredible defender, baiting passes, baiting dribble handoffs, whatever he's doing. Matisse Thybulle's playing great defense, and it was super fun to watch this whole matchup between the two MVP candidates, Matisse Thybulle, Bones Highland. There was a lot in this game. Really fun, down to the wire. A million lead changes. If you didn't watch it, go back and watch it. But finally, I do want to cover the Bucks Jazz game because I feel like this one kind of got overshadowed by like Cat going off and the Nuggets Sixers game earlier in the day. But this game also nationally televised between two teams that theoretically could meet in the NBA Finals. The Milwaukee Bucks did come out with a win, 117-111. They're now 43-26 on the season. First time they beat the Jazz in 20 years in Utah, which I think is kind of insane. I know they only play a couple times a year and like once a year in Utah, but losing like 20 years in a row is kind of nuts, especially when the Bucks have been really good these past few years. I guess you like Utah just has their number or something, but Utah, they fell short on this one. They had a really good three at the end of this game as a look to try and cut it down to a 1-point game to continue the free throw battle, but Donovan Mitchell missed it. He was really inefficient tonight. I think he was like 9 of 29 or like 10 of 29, something like that for 29 points. It was a really rough shooting night for him. He missed the three at the end. It's going to happen. Sometimes you're going to have those off nights, especially when you face a team in the Milwaukee Bucks who have a lot of great perimeter defenders between Jrue Holiday, Giannis, Javon Carter. They're throwing a bunch of different guys at him and just really being physical with him, forcing him to take tough shots, and he wasn't making them tonight. Gobert played pretty well with 18 and 14. You had 29 from Mike Conley, who had a great game, one of his better games as of recently. Jordan Clarkson, who, another guy, had almost 50 points the other night. I forgot about him. He had 8 points in this one, so he was kind of a letdown. No Bojan Bogdanovic in this one. As for the Bucks, Brook Lopez did play in this one. He played 15 minutes, had 6 points. Shout out to Brook Lopez on his comeback. 29 from Jrue Holiday, who had so many clutch steals. I feel like it's just by default when Jrue Holiday is on the court, he's going to get a steal in crunch time. 23 from Chris Middleton, 30 and 15 from Giannis Antetokounmpo. Just a really big game for the big three. So just a big win for the Bucks, continuing to try and keep pace in that Eastern Conference that is so tight. Gaining a game on the Sixers, which was huge for them. Same with gaining a game on the Bulls, who did lose to the Sacramento Kings. I'm not going to talk about the game too much. Just the Bulls really need to figure things out. They, of course, do need to get healthier, but even still, this is not a game they should lose. This Kings team has been floundering, and they're a team that's trying to compete for a title. Something I always say, good teams, or at least title contending teams, elite teams even, can win games without some of their best players. And the Bulls have not been doing that as of late. They've got to figure things out. I'm sure they'll figure something out, but for right now, they're kind of falling apart. So that's all I have to say. Let me know what you thought about this this kind of like scoring outbreak we're seeing. Let me know what your favorite moments were from the games tonight in the comment section below. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. If you made it to this point in the video, drop a shout out cat in the comment section below just to let me know you made it to the end. I appreciate y'all watching. I will see you all later.